Welcome back to another spill drop video. Today I've got a few more super modules for you, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into these modules. Right away here, I've got sort of an interesting entryway module. Now, this is going to utilize a 1.5 high square and triangle combination. Of course, this triangle portion doesn't necessarily need to be open up here. You can box it off if you like, and even add additional storage up there. I'd recommend possibly putting a shotgun trap up here if that's your style, but for this, I wanted to leave it open so you can see what we're working with on top of this triangular shelf. So straight in, obviously we have kind of an airlock of sorts here. You have storage on these weapon racks down here and here. I'd recommend placing tools on these weapon racks, as putting guns or boom here would be a little risky considering the airlock situation that we've got here, but that's entirely up to you. And if your base is a little bit more secure than this entrance is here, then you can certainly fill out these weapon racks however you choose. I recommend having at least a tier 1 somewhere in the entryway for your base, so that way if you're farming and you need to come recharge your jackhammer, you'll have a spot to do that. You can also do that on a repair bench, but those do take up a little bit more space width-wise than the workbench does. That's why I've included the workbench here. Now up top, we've got 3 large boxes that you can use for drop storage. You can also place adapters on some of these boxes, and depending on how you face these boxes, you have access to more adapters on certain sides. That's something to keep in mind. I'll show you here. The box on the end of the triangle is going to be the easiest to place adapters on, but if you place these boxes on either of these sides where you have an opening and you face the lock of the box towards the opening, you'll be able to place adapters there as well, or of course on top of the box if you can see that far. Moving further in, we've got the open courtyard here, and right away out front I have this Sunken Furnace module. Now I've been experimenting with different ways to incorporate a sunken square foundation into base designs, and this is the best way that I was able to incorporate these electric furnaces into what is essentially a fully self-contained module. Now the only real element that's excluded here would be the igniter, which you can use to turn those on, and the power switch there, of course, which you'd want to put in an area that is more accessible to you outside of the furnace cube. But what I have going on down in this pit, you could call it, is 8 electric furnaces, which require a total of 24 rust watts per minute to operate. We've got our branches here that you can tie directly into these furnaces, and then down in the middle, I have 2 small batteries, and you might notice that they're perched up on top of 2 conveyors, which you can use to run the input and outputs for these furnaces, and they're concealed pretty nicely down here under these batteries and give you the extra space to actually place these small batteries down in this cube. I have the batteries receiving power from the primary power source, which for this build is a generator, but for a normal build would perhaps be a solar panel or a wind turbine. Those batteries feed into this combiner here, which feeds into this switch. The switch then routes power back to this branch array. Obviously, the igniter is attached to this button and doesn't require any additional power to function, which is quite nice in my opinion. If there is a server reset, these furnaces may turn off automatically, which is why you might want to have an igniter if these are inaccessible. So if you can't quite get to these to turn them all on, or if you just want an easy way to turn them all on at once, I recommend using the button igniter system like I've got there. Now you can fit more small batteries down here. I've been able to get 4 maximum in this layout. There may be room for even more if you can get these corner placements a little bit tighter. Sometimes you can squeeze a battery in here and in there, but for this system you really only need 25 rust watts per minute if you include the igniter in this system. So just 2 batteries is more than capable of providing the power for this system, as long as you have a good flow of electricity into the batteries to maintain that power source. After that module, I've got this one right over here. We're going to go counterclockwise. Now this is a fully built 1x2, and as you can see down here, you've got the oil refinery, which will take crude oil and convert it into low-grade fuel. The adapter there can feed into an automated system. I also have a prison cell wall on this side here, which allows you to stack small boxes for additional storage for resources such as wood, crude oil, and low-grade, or whatever else you want to stash in this kind of unusual location. And then above the refinery, we have storage here. Shout out Blazed for being the inventor of the concept of storage above a refinery, and the additional layer up there of storage as well. So you can jump up and access those. You can reach all of these pretty comfortably from down here, and an additional hidden box down by the refinery, which probably would not remain hidden for too long during a raid, but I've definitely seen raiders who have ignored more obvious loot locations. So you never know. This is simply a stairwell that will take you up to the second floor here, so we'll come back for it in just a moment, but I want to show you this little 1x2 by 1.5 that was inspired by a recent That Damn Lamb video that just honestly was a fantastic video, and some really great PvP and roleplay all rolled into one, and it inspired me to build this module here. Now this is a very standard 1x2 layout, except that it includes an upper half-high layer just above where you would normally place the roof. Now straight in here, you've got room for 2 sleeping bags, a third if you build a standard triangular airlock here. When you go into this 1x2, you've got 3 low-grade based furnaces, which is a really good layout for getting your start on a server or for having a little backup base in case you need it. Now, one of the features that I really loved about this build in Lamb's video is what I'm going to show you here. So in her video, she was PvPing pretty effectively from sort of this position here, shooting at people outside her front door and being able to open and close it pretty easily without being exposed to the line of sight. This jump can be a little tricky to get, so I recommend aiming for the wall and this little point on the triangle to kind of squeeze your way up here. But once you're up to this little level up here, you can see we've got some cauldrons back here, making quite a bit of noise, but well nested within these large boxes here. You also have another spot that you can defend your base from here with a little bit of a longer angle, and if this door is opened, there we go. If the door is opened and you're up here, you can shoot down with a really nice angle at the folks who are outside the door, and you can also close the door from in here. So if you trap somebody inside, even if you get downed and you have the chance to hold that door close button, you'll be able to trap them inside this base and they won't be able to get the loot back out. Now in the core, you've got 3 large boxes down here, another cauldron squeezed back in there, and a small box here. Now this placement can be a little bit tricky. I recommend, if you have access to the brick skin DLC, converting this door frame here into brick. It'll let you place this box there, and then you can always switch it back to stone if you like. I kept it at stone for this build just to keep all my modules consistent in theme. Another thing that I have switched up for this build, you might notice a little bit around this video here, is that I've used these little blue siren lights as my new way of gaining a little bit of altitude. So once you get up on the shelf, you can see I've got a large box here, 2 small boxes there, and this little siren light will let you walk up on top of the TC without having to jump. So it's a little bit easier to navigate. I know it doesn't really look easy when I'm doing it like this, but it lets you get up here, and then from up here you can jump up access that box, and this box. So that gives you 6 large boxes in your TC room, 4 small boxes, and then of course your cauldron. So quite a dense little spot for storage. And this is all using the standard vanilla deployables, except of course for the cauldron, but none of these require a DLC to place and are deployables that you can just place in your TC room straight off the rip. So that's a nice way to build out a TC room if you want that extra storage up top and to give your base the appearance of having a pancake layer up on top. Now right over here, I've got a very unusual type of module, and I built this one just because I thought it would be an interesting way to see how you can maximize storage in one of these very strange triangular roof areas. So this is a jump up that I've got here, a bunch of little small boxes and a research bench. You'll get up on top of the research bench like so, and then you'll notice that underneath this roof there's sort of a triangular shaped loft, and there's not a lot you can do with that space, but if you do have the Frontier DLC and you've got these barrels, you can stack them up in there pretty nicely. Once you jump up into the loft, you'll notice I've got another one of these siren lights here that lets me kind of peek over the top of this barrel and see that one back there in the back corner, and also access this small box that's squeezed back there as well. So just another way to get a little bit more storage out of the unusual parts of your base, and possibly a way to hide loot in a spot that raiders wouldn't think to check. You've also got this very strange peak here. I'm not exactly sure if that would provide any utility to anybody, but I kind of like the way that it looks, and I'll show you from out here. Kind of has a nice effect. Obviously pretty soft-sidable there, but an interesting angle if that's some sort of layout that you've got going on. Now, this right here is something that I've been experimenting with quite a lot on vanilla servers. It's very, very tricky to get this to work. You can see, if you're looking closely, that right underneath this sandbag and above this half-high wall, there's a lovely little gap here that you can use as a peak for your base. Now, the way this works is you'll want to have typically a square like that on either side of the half-high wall. I just leave a twig like this. Then you'll place your sandbags on top as close to the middle of this wall as you can. I've had some trouble with this on vanilla servers, so I would highly recommend that you test this on a build server before you try to launch into a vanilla server and just start crafting sandbags, because it will break 9 times out of 10. The stability on these floors helps support the sandbag initially, but once you destroy these floors, as long as you place your sandbag correctly, then it will hover like you see here over the low wall and give you that really interesting angle. Now the sandbags, of course, don't have a lot of durability. You'll see here that just 200 health and they get damaged pretty easily. So this is not going to be your primary line of defense, and definitely not against something like the helicopter. But if you're just trying to create a little bunker to defend your base, or perhaps like a flank base, then these might be a good way to do that for very cheap. I've also got these low boxes set up because they give you just enough height to squeeze kind of under the sandbags. As you can see, when I step back, I'm a little higher up, push forward, I get kind of smushed down underneath them. And the siren lights let you just walk right up on there without having to jump, so you're not going to be notifying people that you're constantly jumping around your base, and give you kind of the element of surprise. Now, another triangular shaped roof module is one I've got up here. This also acts as an airlock. As you can see, you can just kind of hide back here behind this and shoot at anybody who's lurking outside. They can't get past it to get into your base, so it's kind of a nice feature for that. But if you come up this ladder, make sure you crouch so that way the ladder doesn't eat you. You can see that I've got 2 large boxes on either side here and 3 small boxes on either side as well. Now, if you're using barrels, you can get quite a bit more storage than even what I've got here. But for the default blueprints and the vanilla game, this is probably the best amount of storage that you can get out of a layout like this. Yeah, right over here, I've got a new kind of furnace slash storage room. You'll see that we've got 3 low-grade based furnaces in the corner. That helps you generate charcoal, which you will definitely need in Rust if you're looking to do some raiding or shooting or really anything that involves violence. Down here, we've got a barrel in the back. You can tell because it's got a rocket there, and this one in the front doesn't. You've also got room to place quite a lot of these adapters on these barrels, so you can incorporate a lot of automation into a design like this. There's also 2 vertical barrels there as well, and a horizontal barrel down here. Now behind this furnace, we have 3 more squeezed in back there. You can see 2 of them, and you've got 2 more up front here. So that's 5 electric furnaces, 3 low-grade furnaces, and 5 barrels. Kind of a unique design for me, but something that I wanted to try out a little bit to see how you can incorporate more of these combination electric and low-grade furnaces into a system like this. Now this is quite a large module for what I typically build, but I've been experimenting a lot more with farms. And forgive me for not wiring up any of the electricals here. You can see we've got 3 full planters here, here, and there. And then up here for the jump up, we've got 2 of the narrow planters so that you have room to actually get up into the jump up here. We have a prison cell on this side for a little bit of extra seed storage there. Up here, I've got the water barrel, the water catcher. I've got a couple of cauldrons placed down underneath the water barrel here just for fun. And up top, I've got another full planter, which is quite cool and convenient if you're trying to get a little farm operation going. A very cozy little farm module. We're looking at just a 1x2 by 1.5, I guess. But I'll show you why that area is a little bit taller here in just a moment. Now, this is one of my favorite modules that I've ever made, and this is in recognition of the new prisoner items that have been added. So the handcuffs and the hood, and I like to call this my frog room, and I'll show you why. So I guess the point of this little triangular cell here is that it's a great place for you to store any unruly inmates that you may have acquired in your adventures. If they're being troublesome and breaking your things and not really cooperating with you, then this might be the right design for you. You can push a prisoner into this cell, close the door, and there's not really much for them to do in here. There's a little bit of room for them to kind of navigate, and if they happen to get a little bit of wood on them, they might be able to, if they're unhandcuffed, of course, they might be able to break stuff like this with their spear or their rock or what have you, if you haven't fully taken away all of their items. And if that's the case and you don't want to put the handcuffs back on them, which, I understand, then I've added this feature here, which turns them into a little froggy. So you see, I'm crouched now, I'm like stuck, I'm kind of smushed. If I try to climb up, I can't because of these siren lights here that are pushing me down. If I somehow manage to get past that, like if I jump when the ladder is up like that, then I can get up here and I can cause some kind of problems here. Then you might need to take matters into your own hands, which is why I've included this little camera here, so you can check in on your prisoners as needed. But if they don't jump up when you open that ladder hatch, they get smushed down here. There's not really anything that they can do. They can't jump out of here. They can't use their tools. They can't do anything. They may be able to kind of hold jump, in which case they can use their spear. But if that's the case, you can always arm this trap, close the hatch, and cause them just a little bit of discomfort with this bitey boy here. And of course, if they're getting uncomfortable and unruly, you can always turn on the campfire to give them a little bit of extra comfort, help them live a little bit longer as your prisoner. Like I said, one of my favorite modules, my froggy room. over here, we've got a very cool hallway concept. Now this design works best when you place the shelf before you put these door frames in, because these door frames will kind of block these outer barrels from being able to be placed up on the top shelf. But the bottom shelf works just fine. You can place all three of these with no trouble. I recommend putting the middle barrels down first and then putting the ones on either side, and then you can decide how you want to lay out the adapters. And then last and possibly least would be this module right here. I found myself looking for solutions to this problem, and I haven't found a lot of other creators that have really addressed this. But if you utilize a pancake layer over the top of your TC room and just close it off like this, then you'll have a little bit of extra defense for your core. So assuming this is right above your TC, this area right here just becomes another set of walls that would have to be raided through in order to get to the tool cupboard. A great way to protect your TC, but it creates sort of an awkward space here that doesn't really work as a jump up because you can't put a door in the traditional way on this space. And if you place it up top, then it's just a cheap door to get access to two different floors, which you really don't want to do. So what I've done here is I have turned this into kind of like a drop storage room. You've got two large boxes back here, two small boxes, and two barrels here. Alternatively, you can put small boxes here if you don't have the Frontier DLC, but these barrels work really well if you do. And then directly in front of this honeycomb that we've got, you've got a mixing table and a repair bench. These two deployables are pretty large, and in a lot of bases it can be hard to find places to put them where they use the space efficiently enough to be placed and don't cause an issue with navigation. What I've done here is I've placed them right next to each other in a spot where you really wouldn't have a shelf above them for storage, and you wouldn't really need the extra space to navigate. So what you've got is basically a floor with some lower level storage down here that you can use, all while giving you the ability to just navigate comfortably up to this honeycomb where your drop storage would be. You don't even need to jump, so it's nice and quiet while you're navigating. I find that some of the difficult to utilize deployables fit really nicely into areas like this, and it might not be something that you've thought of, but not everything is planned in Rust and not everything works out the way that you want. So make sure that if you've got space like this, it doesn't go to waste, and find a good way that you can utilize some of the more awkward deployables in that unused space. That's it. That is all that I have for you today. 12 super modules that you might use in your next base design to take your work and elevate it to the next level, give you a little bit more storage than you're otherwise used to, or introduce some new utility to the base. If you want to see me build any of these modules in a base design or just provide a tutorial for how exactly they come together, please leave a comment down below and I will gladly make that happen. Otherwise, stay tuned for my next video. I've got a lot of stuff in the works for you all. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. You'll see more videos like this. Thank you again for watching. This has been your friend Spilldrop, and I will catch you in the next video.